What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to episode 2 of Aiming Up with Kenneth and Trey. This is Trey. With me as always,
Yo,
Kenneth. We're just going to do a brief intro, see how things have been the last week, and then we'll dive into today's topic. How's things with you, man?
I would say I'm good today. Um, the most current events with Charlie and
Yeah.
the girl Irina in Charlotte stuff, it's a little close to home for me. And um, I've had to spend some time uh, off of social media,
Yeah.
and I've had to sort of cling tightly to my family because it's sad. And it's uh, it's it's sad for multiple reasons. It's sad for our country. Our country is not the same country that I grew up in. And I'm older than you. And it's like the like the 90s, bro. Like it was just the pinnacle of our whole existence.
Yeah.
And you know, and then now the political environment, but also just the religious environment, the fact that people have the thoughts that they do, it's a sad thing. And um, trying to explain those things to a 10-year-old boy. It's a it's a tough thing. We're really honest at our house. We tell him everything. Um, so just heavy conversations. And then his birthday, we celebrated his birthday on Monday. It was
Hmm.
actually on Sunday, but he was with his dad. And so we did some uh, bowling and some Pokemon cards and some
Oh,
stuff
sweet.
that he really likes. And we have a birthday party for him for his friends coming this weekend. So the overall week is good. I'm just recovering from the event. So I know you were struggling with it too a little bit.
Yeah, I don't ever get too deep enough. I mean, most people don't hear what I say about politics. I don't vote or anything like that, so I always stay out of it. But um, I think in general, like whether you agree or disagree with person, I would never wish that to happen. I would never
Sure.
wish for um I don't want to get into the other stuff, but let's use like the George Floyd stuff. Do I wish
Mm,
something ever bad to happen to someone? And the reason why I want to bring that up is I want to keep it equal because I don't want it to turn into you're racist, you don't care about this and that because that's far from the case
for
here.
sure. Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
um, I think I just would never want that for anyone, and I wouldn't want it to be posted around how it's being posted around. And that goes on both sides of the fence of everyone. I think
Yeah.
I have struggled with it because I'm not the most, I don't like having feelings. It's hard. My therapist and Valerie can maybe get a tear out, but then this is where
I don't know. I can get a tear out of you every once
yeah.
in a while.
But this is where
Depends on
my
the
trauma
situation.
comes into play. It's like I get hard on myself. I'm like, okay, you've gotta suck it up. You've got to move forward, and you've got to be
Mm.
the person going forward. Um, so I won't lie, it's been extremely tough on me mentally. Um, just for a variety of reasons. And then like I think the other thing with it that's been really tough is it's like we talked about last week. I want to keep what we do positive. I want to try to make this industry and world a positive place. So it felt bad taste to see so many of our quote unquote colleagues post about it. But they're
Yeah.
posting about it in terms of posting pictures of him being shot and then their face reactions. Like, I think that's very poor taste.
Mm.
Like, I feel like we shouldn't be sharing that around because now it's the same thing with the George Floyd stuff. We shouldn't be sharing that around because let's say anyone has kids, you really want their kids to grow up where that's always going to be seeing it. You want that to keep being replayed. And I think that was at least within the industry one of the most frustrating things. I've seen.
Well, it's not just about the kids, man. I think the issue is,
It's like the post we shared this morning with John Eldridge. That because that's who it was, John Eldridge. It's like we aren't meant to see that stuff. We are not strong enough to carry that. That's why we need a higher power for you and I. It's God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. That's what we need. We were not meant to see that stuff, and I don't think we should be sharing that. I saw the up close part of it because a client had sent it to me. Um, and I won't lie, it really messed with my head, and could have done without seeing any of it.
yeah, I think we all could have, yeah.
And I think that's been my hardest thing with it all. And then obviously the divide it further creates is it's unfortunate. Like it's always been like this. And I explained this back when the Olympics were going on, when you had the whole thing going on where everybody felt they were making a mockery of Last Supper, what you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I talked about this over with the guy I used to do Bible study with, and I talked over it with a couple of in-person clients that are very like spiritual and Christians and everything. I said, who do you think God is looking down on poorly? Dude, is he looking down poorly at the people that are making a mockery and being bad sinners like he expects them to be? Or is he looking down at his children that we're supposed to be shepherding people to him, not away from him? And I would argue in that Olympic scenario, he's looking down at the Christians that are like, you bad person, you bad this. It's not our job to correct people. And it's the same thing I feel with this. Yes, you shouldn't be posting, good job. I'm glad this happened to someone. F this guy, I disagreed with him. I totally don't think that should be going. But at the same time, us as Christians, believers, whatever thing you claim you are, or title, we shouldn't be, you bad person, you suck. We should maybe go about it with curiosity because that's the only way we're going to encourage them to maybe see it from a different perspective than the narratives that both sides of the political and the worldly spectrum paints it. They both paint it, it's intentionally made to separate us. It's intentionally done.
Right, right,
And I
right.
think the way both sides are handling it is extremely, extremely poor, where instead of coming together, we're not doing that. With that said, I do think
Yeah.
there's some positives. I've seen it like where there's close friends of ours that went to church for the first time this past Sunday. And that's their I'll tell you after the podcast.
Oh,
And I think you know what I'm talking about. But and that's their business and that makes me so happy. Like it really like makes me happy, like tears happy, because these are people we love and we care about. And those are positives. But I still think that it's a very hard time. It's a very negative time. I think we're going to continue to see it get worse, unfortunately. I think that is part of what has to happen. It's going to get worse. And I really wish all of us would come together with it all. And I really, um, I don't, dude. It's unfortunate with it all. So it's definitely weighed heavy on me. And this is the first time I've really touched on it with anyone.
I think to talk about what you're hitting on a little bit, for people with the opposing view, um, I don't really, I mean, I don't know Charlie Kirk personally or didn't. I know what I've seen and I know what I saw in terms of how it translated to me. I felt very much like a guy who uh, is a lot like me
Right.
got murdered,
Yeah.
and that was the heavy part, right? Well, to flip it on its end and just let's just say, for the sake of saying, he was a he was a follower of Christ. He proclaimed that outside of everything else that everybody else thinks he's talking about, whether it's super conservative views or whether it's whatever else. Let's just talk about the Jesus part.
Yeah.
It's my belief he got shot because he talked about Jesus. So if let's just say that's true for right now.
Yep.
If that's true, then the people with the opposing view, if you're a conscientious person, I would probably sit and pause and think, there must be something to this Jesus thing because they didn't want him to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that's the way I prefer to sort of present it if I have to talk about it to an opposing person.
Yeah.
However, this is going to go into our topics for today. You cannot tell anybody the truth about anything without loving them first,
Yeah.
without caring for them first, without hearing them out first, without meeting them where they are first, without being humble. And when people post things that are not humble, or attacking or whatever the case is, not in a loving way, then you're going to make it polarizing.
Yeah.
And that's the point of the whole thing. They
Yeah.
want it to be polarizing so that we're fighting over here about the dumb stuff, and they're doing something over here that we're not paying attention to. So, with that being said, it's like you should probably announce our topic, and then I'll weave it into the
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah, and just tie that part up. It's like everyone listening, like this has nothing to do with politics. This has nothing to do with anything. I have clients that are every single thing, every religion,
Yeah, me too.
independent, Democrat, Republican. Guess what? I have healthy conversation with all of them because I don't, frankly, it's
Because you
not
care
my
about
job
them.
to,
That's why.
yeah,
Because you care about them.
yeah,
When
it's
you
not
care
my
about people,
job
they don't
to
they don't
judge.
get offensive.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. Like I have clients that are non-believers or Hindus or
Yeah.
whatever they follow. Um, and it's okay. Like this isn't what we're talking about is a healthy conversation, and
Yeah.
we're not poo-pooing on all of y'all. And I
I'm
think
not trying to convert you either. Like
oh no,
ultimately, like
no, and it's from the
I can't
spiritual
I
side.
can't do it anyway.
Yeah,
Like
and from the
you're
spiritual
like that's a
side,
God thing.
most people that have taught me know my story. I identify as a mesotheist, which is God exists, but I think he's an evil person and he doesn't do what he should. I identify as that forever. I thought it was atheism, and then I figured out it was actually a different thing. And then turned believer and making sense of things and making sense of what all this world is and everything like that. So I hope everyone hears from someone like me that has came from that aspect. This isn't about converting you. It's not about saying anything's bad, anyone's wrong or anything. It's just simply saying like whether you agree or disagree, it's unfortunate that that happened to someone like that. It's unfortunate to
It's
the
a
gal.
human.
It's unfortunate about the gal in Charlotte. I'll touch on it at the same time. It's unfortunate about the Democratic I think it's husband and wife in Minnesota. Like
Yeah.
it's all like unfortunate. It's unfortunate about the younger male that they found hung in what Alabama or whatever yesterday or whatever. I'm touching all of that because I want everyone to hear we're having a healthy conversation and no one is being excluded. And this is not some right wing thing or some left wing thing. It's like they're all human individuals. And the last thing either of us would want is bad things to happen to people because we're not perfect. We are meant to F up. We were created to F up. And that has nothing to do with you and I. That goes all the way back to Adam and Eve, who made that decision for us to F up. Like we were made to be that way. And it's not our job to crucify people.
Well, what I'll say is we were made differently, but when Adam and Eve effed it up,
Yes.
that's when sin entered the world and it broke the world. So
Right.
we live in a broken world, and
Yeah. We live in a world of what
that's
it was
why.
not meant to be. But what
Right.
God did is he gave us free choice. And that's what we all have to remember. You all have free choice. And if you didn't have free choice, you would have no reason to rely on someone, have faith in someone.
Well, that's love, right? So like if God is love, man, we're getting into a theological conversation. But
Yeah.
if God is love, and that's what God describes Himself as, then love is a free will choice.
Yeah.
So without free will to choose God, then it's not really love.
Yeah.
And so I think with all of the terrible things that are going on right now and everything, I think the reminder is it's a broken world with broken people.
Yeah.
Um, there have been decades upon decades upon decades of the same type of brokenness that we're experiencing now, but we didn't have access to it. We couldn't
Yes.
hear about it.
That's what people, I came to this conclusion the other day. I'm terrified of heights and flying and everything. I don't like anything that I can't control. And I was talking about this to a client the other day. I was training in person because he's a like very well off businessman and flies everywhere for vacations and work and stuff. And I was like, we were talking about how flying is technically safer. But the problem is, like, we see so much big news about this plane crash, this plane wreck, or whatever, but it's still been going on since before. It's just we see it. But then we don't think about how many car accidents, I don't want to say car accidents because none of them are accident, car wrecks we see on an everyday, consistent basis. But it's not on a big platform, it's not on a big news line. It's the same thing when it comes to unfortunate events like this. This stuff happens all the time. What everyone is seeing is you had a higher up, and I don't want to say political figure because it was more than that. A higher up figure, whether it's political, spiritual, life, college students, whatever. When you have something like this, which I would say is one of the bigger things in terms of a figure aspect publicly to happen, in my
Yep.
opinion, probably since like around like JFK, Martin Luther King, like Malcolm X, stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
It's going to be broadcast everywhere. It's going to be a big deal, and certain parties are going to take advantage of that. Both sides are going to take advantage of that. But it's important everybody remembers this stuff happens all the freaking time, and no one should ever want this to happen on a consistent basis. And the
Yeah,
only way that improves, the only
it can
way
be
that
used as
improves is we
propaganda. Yeah,
propaganda.
to come together, but it's used as propaganda to keep us apart.
Yeah,
And
100%.
I think ultimately, if you're looking for a banner to come underneath to come together, is I don't want broken things to happen,
No.
like any broken things.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, if I get into a car accident or something like that, like I don't want that for me. I don't want that for somebody else. I don't want that for the person that I hit. You know, nobody wants bad things to happen.
No.
So, in the breath of if you're a person who doesn't want bad things to happen, then we can come together. Now, if you're a person that's like, I like when bad things happen, you probably should reevaluate reevaluate your thought process. But all that to say,
Yeah, we'll get into
um,
this topic. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think it's one of these things where we're talking about the environment that we're currently in, which then translates into our topic today and how it affects our clients.
And so what we're going to touch on today is like root cause, common problems, or what's the root cause of common problems. And um, I've touched on it before. I feel like when it comes to any problem or functional health issue or whatever title you want to use, because there's so many freaking titles now, there's a three-prong approach to it. And it's always, in my opinion, mind, body, spirit. And you kind of said this.
And the way I approach it to my clients is there's three environments.
Yep.
There's the environment inside your head,
Yep.
the way you talk to yourself, you know, what your belief systems are, um, your overall mental health.
Yep.
Then there's a environment, a relational environment,
Yep.
your relationship potentially with your spouse, your significant other, or your job, or lack thereof. Um, and then there's this physical environment that we have. That's how our body functions, how we treat it, how we feed it, how we exercise it, those types of things.
Yep.
And so ultimately, if I don't coach those three environments in a person, then we see a myriad of different issues happen. And usually there's commons. So like, let's just take females for example. There's a common female dynamic, excuse me, or demographic that I see on a regular basis. And it could range anywhere from 20 years old to in their 40s or 50s.
Yep.
If a girl comes to me with some sort of disease state, whether that's hormone dysfunction, GI dysfunction, or thyroid dysfunction, one of those three environments are impacted, if not all three. Would you agree?
Yep. Bingo.
So ultimately, let's say we could fix everything with a pill, like the symptoms. So all of a sudden, I give her one pill, her hormones are fixed. I give her another pill, her GI is fixed. And I give her another pill, and her thyroid's fixed. Hallelujah. Everything's done, right?
For now.
No, right. No, because the root of everything that's going on in their life impacts the overall function of their brain, body, and spirit, and all of it's interconnected. And so, um,
And this goes into why at times, kind of what we spoke about last week, why at times protocols don't work, no matter how much.
yeah, or we were having a conversation before we got on about GI maps and them not matching up with symptoms, which is interesting. And sometimes the symptom could be stress related, but we don't like you're not living with that person every single day. So you can't experience the stress. And this is something, so this is more about the mind, the mind part, the self-awareness part. The way I explain it to clients is there's a container inside of you that gets filled up with anxiety, trauma, and stress. And stress can also be physical exertion because all stress, the body reacts in the same way.
Well, like pause for one. Remember your thought. I think like
Yeah.
real quick because I want to touch on like what is stress because I think people don't understand what stress is because when I will talk to clients about it, I'm like, this is clearly a stress-based issue, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm not stressed." I'm like,
I
all right,
feel great.
stress is a umbrella of things. Everything is a stressor. The difference is most of what we're seeing, it's not this abrupt stuff that's in their face. It's not like what we were talking about at the beginning of the thing. It's not miscarriages necessarily. Maybe if
Yeah,
it happened, it's everlasting effects. Yeah, maybe. It's not
sure.
like you were robbed or something like that, or car crash, whatever.
But there could be a lasting effect.
Yes, it could be a lasting. So I don't want to push off that. We're thinking like it's more the common stuff everyone is not thinking about, and that's common good and common bad. And the example I always give everyone is if I told you you're gonna get stabbed in the back with a needle every hour, only hour, the rest of your life. First bit of time that's gonna hurt like crazy. Eventually you're gonna be desensitized and it's not gonna bother you anymore. Doesn't mean it's not still digging a hole in your back. It's the same thing with stress. So when we're talking stress, that could be used stress, aka good stress. It could be you're getting too much like partying, too much like, and let's say it's like concerts and stuff. Like you're just, oh, I'm high all the time, and you're just always excited. Or it could be work. It could be you're always busy. It could be like with something you and I do, like we're just always busy, or client communication. It could be relationship stress. It could be you and your partner, husband, wife, whatever, y'all are not connecting the way you should, or maybe you're on eggshells. It could be familial stress, like whether it's trauma or maybe it's like, oh, there's tough conversations we gotta have, and it's always sitting ruminating on your mind. So I think people don't realize, like when we're talking stress, we're not talking you stubbed your toe or you got fired from work. It's a broad spectrum, and then there's multiple sectors and things that go into that. And I 110% believe that is the cause of everything. It all starts with that. Then it comes up with the symptoms and everything
Yeah,
else.
it's the stress line base. It's the baseline of stress. So that's what I was getting ready to explain to you. So I talk about a container,
Yep.
and then let's just take me for example. I grew up in a house where perfectionism was expected. Um, sort of, I was the kid. I was the firstborn kid. I couldn't really make mistakes. My sister ended up coming into the house and making all the mistakes, and there was really no punishment in a lot of ways. But I was punished sort of very easily. So when that happened, my baseline of stress is maybe here, and the bottom of the container is here.
Yep.
The reason why is because I'm in sort of a scarcity mindset or a fearful mindset
Yes.
about I don't want to make the wrong move here because I'm going to get punished for, you know, doing something that I shouldn't be doing as a kid.
Yeah.
Well, that can com- that can basically multiply over the course of time. And so you have coping mechanisms that allow you to deal with those stressors.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, those coping mechanisms make that stress feel less stressful.
Yes.
So now that baseline rises a little bit more. And then you get to a place where maybe everything's kind of calmed down. You've had some traumatic experiences in your past, your baseline's a little higher. You get a job that you keep for several years, your baseline's a little higher because you have coping mechanisms within that. You have a relationship that you have that's long term, that has stressors in it. You have coping mechanisms in that relationship. It brings your baseline a little bit higher. You have um, various different things that happen to you in general. Like, let's say I'm throwing the ball in the front yard with my dog and I step and poop. That's stressful. I've
Yeah.
got my Jordans on and now I've got to go wash my Jordans. And I was just trying to play with my dog for 10 minutes before
Yep.
I had to call the client. And well, this has now screwed up my schedule for the day. And so now this standard baseline, and if you're listening, I'm holding my hands apart like there's a bottom and then there's a baseline above it. And then what happens is every regular day stressors, you forgot to pay the bill or you had your husband's a jerk today
Sometimes.
and he's not usually a jerk, but ultimately now it overflows. Well, if that container overflows over a long period of time, the baseline in which we were designed for, let's go back to Adam and Eve. And let's just say, for the sake of saying, God is real. God created us. And if God created us, Adam and Eve was real, and so was the Garden of Eden. So, on that truth today, whether you believe it long term or not, doesn't matter. Um, we were made for relationship with God, to procreate with our spouse, and manage the garden and eat of the plants and the animals in the garden. Well, they choose to eat of the tree, the tree of knowledge, which was in pursuit of to be like God. Therefore, that was sinful. They were cast out of the garden. So the baseline is still here in the garden. Let's just talk about that for a second. If you could just hang out with your spouse in a garden and have sex and eat food and hang out with God, sounds pretty awesome. Like, can you sign me up for that? It sounds really great. So for me, that's where everybody's human baseline is. It doesn't matter who you are. all of your life experiences, the way that you cope, all of the different things that you've had have now escalated this baseline to a higher level. Every person that we interact with is at a different baseline. So I, as a coach, have to understand where Carol, when she comes to me, let's say she's got Hashimoto's and she's menopausal with no hormones, and she has no boundaries with work and all this other stuff. Well, I've got to understand her past just as much as I have to understand her current,
Mhm.
because what her past did is what got her there, because she's now moved into an autoimmune condition away from a disease state, which is the natural place where most people come to us. Have you ever had a healthy person? I think I've had one. So,
Well,
and that
what's
one was fun.
healthy? What's healthy?
Healthy would mean optimal. So, like, you got regular hormones. You have no GI issues. Like, I kid you not, this guy, he had a 850 nanograms per deciliter for his testosterone, his serum labs. He had a absolute clear GI map, and this is back in the day when I was having everybody do the test up front. So it was like, bro, I've never seen a GI map like that in my life. I should frame it and put it on my wall. But kid you not, hormones are great. Body composition was great. He was so solid, dude. Like, I want to go back to him and be like, hey, I didn't have the presence of mind to ask you the question then, but you were the coolest, calmest cucumber that I've ever met in my life. How are you managing that? Because every time I talked to him, he was just like this. He'd get happy and he'd have a bad day, but the bad day would never be too low. But he'd always just be he's just solid, man.
Yeah.
Just so solid. And it came out in his labs. So what happens is the people who do not know how to manage their stress, and because we don't get to leave the broken world,
No.
we have to manage what comes our way, and also not only what comes our way, but manage our past, and also realize that our past affects our current. But a lot of people who come to me lack the ability to have the self awareness to understand any and all of those things are true.
Yep.
Like, I was literally just having a conversation with a client last week, major GI case, and I asked him, he was talking about having some acid reflux. And I asked him, I said, are you stressed? And he goes, oh man, I'm great. Everything's great. But if you ask more probing questions,
Yeah.
his his business was frustrating him that day. He didn't sleep well that day. He's not performing that well in the gym. There's all these things that are internal, and you don't want to ruminate on them, so you just don't deal with them. You're a compartmentalizer at that point. So part of my job is to take your ability to compartmentalize, which is great, but also to make you aware of it. So when you compartmentalize something, you actually come back to it and deal with it instead of lock it up forever and never deal with it again. So when you don't deal with it, that becomes like a little gremlin who knocks down that door one day, and he's a massive monster. And he's like, I am here to take everything that's good in your life and turn it upside down. And that's why people have to go to trauma therapy because they've compartmentalized to try to save themselves emotionally for a long time. And when you don't deal with your emotions, or when you don't deal with conflict, or you don't deal with your health, or you don't deal with, whatever, it is a situation that is going to be amplified when you do ultimately have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And the amplified situation is the disease state or the autoimmune state that I find my clients in.
Yep.
So that's the mental part. The physical part, the body part, is when these people have these stressful lives and they have these traumatic events and they have all of these various different things happen throughout the course of their day. Let's just imagine that this can is not a lament, uh, electrolyte can,
Yeah.
but this is a beer. They're going to drink a beer. I'm going to drink the beer. I'm going to feel better. I'm coping with my stressful day. Well, choosing that alcohol is probably like the worst possible choice you can choose at this point. There's tons of studies out now that say even one drink is really, really bad. Then maybe it's somebody like my buddy Trey who eats ice cream.
Hey, I've been better. Instead of daily, it's like
so,
once a week.
so you just eat ice cream right before bed every single night. And hey, I'm not knocking it because I've been there before. I've actually been the dude that drinks a bottle of wine before bed too because my life was so bad at the time.
Uh,
So I'm not judging people.
right.
What I'm saying is
Yeah.
these are common things that we see how people why people show up in the way that they do with us. So when they have these, you know, things they reach for and that they choose, I'll even dare to say anything that you choose to use as a coping mechanism that becomes abusive is negative. So, exercise. They just came out with a study where SSRIs on a 52-point scale,
Yeah.
they are only 2 points higher than the placebo.
Yep.
And the best thing that you can do that's like 6 times better than anything else is exercise. So, okay, let's take my wife, for example, my lovely wife. She trains like a man, okay? Like like, she would hurt you, dude. She hurts me. There's times where she's lifting more than me, and I'm
Right.
the bodybuilder, bro. You know what I mean? And like, now she'll crawl out of the car and she'll literally drag herself inside. And then, she'll be sore for 2 days and she probably overdid it. But that's an old coping mechanism that she'll pull on if she's got a stressful situation going on. So sometimes um, those are the types of physical things that we find. Do you know of any other physical stuff that's real common for you?
I mean, I think like the talking about like habits or
Or, yeah, let's say, like, okay, I have one guy who hates vegetables. He won't even try them.
you know,
And it's okay. Like, just eat fruit, it'll be fine. But, like, ultimately, there's so many different things that people do to cope. And he probably doesn't eat vegetables because as a kid, he had some sort of poor
yeah,
situation where he didn't want to eat them.
yeah.
So there's all kinds of different things where if you look at a person, and this is the way I want you to look at it so you can explain it. So if you look at a person and the most optimal version of the person would be the bottom of the baseline, the Garden of Eden. How do we get them closest to the Garden of Eden? What myriad of issues or myriad of different things do you see on a regular basis on your side that people are doing from a physical
From a
perspective?
physical perspective. Okay. It's like actionable like
Yeah,
habits.
like body stuff.
Yeah. I would say the nutrition one is one. I mean, if we're using lifestyle, it's usually going to be the nutrition side. Usually they're reaching for junk food or I had one. It's a really good example. I have a lady that's pregnant right now and she's in the mid like IBD flare and all this stuff. It's going to require us to keep working on things after. Um, and they've put her on prednisone.
You know,
I'm not going to comment on it because I'm not the doctor, so it's not my problem to comment on it. But
You can look at my face though.
right, you can look at my face. Yeah, you don't see me feeling mad there. um, and she's on the prednisone, doesn't have any symptoms or anything, feels good, has hungry, can eat, can do this and that. And what I'm trying to get her to understand is you've got to have better lifestyle habits, better health habits, better nutrition habits. Here's why. One, for yourself, because your GI goes straight to the baby that's already built, so you really can't change anything there. But you're also got to nourish that child to term and post term and after that. And her feedback was, well, I don't have symptoms when I'm on this med, so I'm going to keep eating this way. And it's a prime example. It's like, yes, just because you're not feeling something now doesn't mean you're not digging a deeper hole. It's kind of like I was giving an example.
You have to close the loop.
Yeah, I was giving an example to Valerie. It would be like back when I was a drug addict. Like, yeah, maybe I didn't feel anything then, but I can look and see, okay, I pinpoint all of those decisions, how they did impact me physically. And if we don't even use like body, use like my brain, I can tell where there's a lot of things, neurotransmitter and stuff that change with me with memory and
Mhm.
stuff like that. Or if we use like in terms of doing a better job prioritizing my health and not just prioritizing clients. I can see things that have changed with me physically because of my poor physical decisions. Example,
Yep.
everybody will see the video. I got a severely receding hairline that just continues to get worse and doesn't grow. And it never did that until 3 years ago when I took this full time. Or my eyesight over the last 6 months or so, it's gotten really, really, really bad. And I have to look at the screen like this all the time. And it's really hard to see. Like, because of the poor decisions I've made or poor coping mechanisms that I've used physically, it's led to XYZ results. So nutrition with lifestyle clients, 100%. It's always something like that. If we're using bodybuilders, I think the common thing I'm seeing with competitors, it's, in my opinion, abusing the GLPs. Everyone that's in a prep now, you need a GLP. I need to calm down the food noise. I need to do this and that. I can't,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna be very frank, I cannot nut up and just suffer being hungry, making that you're making the voluntary decision to get on stage and you can't do it. And these are probably the same individuals that cannot push through anything that is hard in their life, and they have to have something to pause that for them. They have to rely on
It's
something.
that other environment.
Yeah, it's poor mental toughness, it's poor mental health that they are relying on that. And guess what I'm seeing? GI pop up. I'm seeing they're not getting better. I'm seeing motility issues. And we'll see what happens with the GLP for the biositide that's out now. We'll see what happens, or bioglutide, whatever the GLP-4 is that's out now. We'll see what happens there. And then if we use other things, it's like, let's use the overtraining argument. There are people that because they have poor mental coping mechanisms, they have poor, I don't want to say poor mental health because I don't want, they have past trauma that they have not figured out how can I address my stress, my
It is
anxiety.
poor mental health. You're
Yes.
not diagnosing anybody. Like I'll always say this, I'm like, the root of your functional health issue is a mental health issue. But the mental health issue isn't necessarily a diagnosis. So I'm
Yeah.
not telling you that you're crazy. I'm telling
Yes.
you that you have a root cause that is mental,
Yep.
that is causing you to do the physical things that you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And it's also causing you to have the relational things that you shouldn't
Yep.
do.
So like with that, it's like they have poor ability to handle things mentally, anxiety, stress, whatever. So what they physically do? Oh, training. And I'm not going to disagree that training is great for stress and mental health. I'm not going to argue that. We have studies that prove it, and we have anecdotal data that says the same thing, or anecdotal experience and results that says the same thing.
Mhm.
But if you go too far and that's your only coping mechanism and it's now triggering these health issues, you are no longer making a healthy decision because the argument I always give everyone is what are you going to do when something catastrophic happens to you? Because in my opinion, almost all of us are going to run across something that none of us would ever want to go through. And what if
Yeah.
that thing takes you out of the gym for an extended period of time? What are you going to do? And I used to think that was BS But when I had my car accident in 2018 and they did the resuscitation, all this crap, and I couldn't train at all and I couldn't do anything, I had nothing to do. And guess what I developed? I started the drug addiction stuff. I got back into cutting myself. I got back into a lot of really bad habits and bad coping mechanisms that I didn't know what to do. And here we are 7, 8 years later. I'm still doing the counseling to improve areas and have better coping mechanisms than just work all the time and bullshit all the time.
Right.
So
Right.
that's an example where physically some people are like, oh, training helps me with my stress. So I need to train 7 days a week. I need to do 4 hours of cardio. I need to do this and that. So those are some different examples, like physically, that I will often see from different individuals. Um, I think we touched on that, and I think I'll let you cover this part and then I'll cover it. But the last one was the relational.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
the
That
relational stuff,
that
a
could be,
lot of
I
the
would
time,
define it as like just define it. It could be husband, wife, job,
it can be
whatever.
anything. It
Yep.
could be a friend of yours. It could be an extended family of yours. It could be, I mean, you know, I'll talk about me. This is the safest thing to talk about. I can't make anybody mad. But so, um, I've been married 3 times, and so this marriage to Donna is my best relationship that I've ever had. Mostly for several reasons, but I'm going to name a few. Uh, I entered into the relationship willing to change and be uh, a better man, defined in a different way than I was raised.
Yep.
And Donna sort of defined that for me. That created a tremendous amount of challenges and um, a lot of like arguments, early on. I won't even say arguments, a lot of friction. Let's say that.
Poor communication. Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor communication.
Yeah. So there's like friction and poor communication. And we would have situations where my past and her past trauma would meet. And when that met, it would be an argument that was pretty significant. Right. So I could decide in this environment, in this relationship, that I may not want to change. And I love Donna so much that I'm not going to leave.
Yeah.
And she's not going to change and she's not going to leave. But if you're not improving, you're usually regressing. So we chose to improve. And so as we improved, the relationship got more secure and it also got deeper. And so a lot of people don't have secure relationships. Secure relationships look like you're fully seen and you're fully heard and you're understood and you're cared for and overall you're loved in the full capacity, right? And so some of the reasons why people can't love other people fully is because of their own trauma or their own understanding of what love is or their lack of self-awareness. So a lot of the time when you get into a relationship, the other person should be a mirror of all of your really yucky stuff. I know Donna was for me. So every time that I had to look in the mirror and recognize that I wasn't being the man that I was supposed to be, I had two choices. I could change or I could stay the same. And when people come to us as clients, what you're saying to me is, I really want to change my physique or I really want to change my health. And when somebody chooses to change either or both of those things, most everything else in their life has to change because everything about their physique and their health is hinged on all of these other aspects that are not changing. So there was like, there were ebbs and flows of my own health within my relationship with Donna. If things were really good, and, it's like life in general, there's peaks and valleys, and it's always peaks and valleys. You're either going up and it's going to get really good, or you're riding it down and something's going to happen and you're going to have to improve again. And anytime that we would have a low point, my health would tend to go to the wayside, and so would hers. And so if you stay in a relationship where both people are not moving forward and they're kind of sitting in the valley together all the time, then your health and your physique are going to deteriorate as well. So you take that aspect of it, and that can apply to any relationship. The most impactful one is your partner. However, let's say you're single and you have extended family, and that extended family has no boundaries. And that extended family with no boundaries affects every single decision that you make because, well, you're single. You've been taught that you need to listen to what mom and dad has to say, and
Yep.
whatever they say goes.
Yep.
And so those are examples there, but it also extends into people's work environments. So what they will accept at home in a poor relationship or an insecure relationship or a disorganized relationship or an avoidant relationship, these are all attachment styles.
Yep.
Ultimately, you're going to have attachment styles at work.
Yep.
If you have a secure relationship with your boss and he calls you and he's like, "Hey, Trey, I want to have a conversation," then you probably are like, "Okay, I'm looking forward to the conversation. I have a secure relationship with my boss."
Yep.
But if you have an avoidant attachment style and you don't have a secure relationship, as soon as your boss calls you, you're going to be like, "I don't really want to have this conversation." And so you avoid the conversation with your boss, which then rises your stress level, your anxiety. And then your boss is like, "WTF, bro?" And you're like, "I don't know. I don't know." And the next thing you know, you've got a toxic work environment. And now you're avoiding everything you should be doing.
Yep.
And that's just one example. There's several different scenarios and all different types of attachment styles and understanding as to why that goes that way. But any type of relational experience that matters, you're going to have these attachment styles that get in the way, or lack of attachment, or lack of security, or honestly, every once in a while you'll get a narcissist. And if you get a narcissist, they'll tear your life down.
Yep.
And there is and this is going to be a bold statement here. There's going to be people that don't like this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Every problem that we have in our industry with people's health, their physique development, the quality of coaching, the outcomes, every single aspect, there's only one problem. There's only one reason why. There's a lack of masculine men doing leadership. No one's leading. And when masculine men don't lead, the world goes to hell in a handbasket, just like your physique will. And I will use this as an example. When Donna and I both met, I was working on trying to get to this masculine
Right.
leadership potential, right? I didn't even know what I was doing. I'm like, "Hey, just going to try to show up to be my best here." And Donna's showing me like, "Hey, these things, we got to work on these things." If you don't work on these things, like, doesn't matter. So me stepping into being a masculine man who leads, provides, and protects has allowed her, who was extremely dysfunctional in her health
Yeah.
over the course of 3 years, to become the most optimal version of herself. And there was only one reason: me.
Right.
It was my fault. Now, granted, there was all this other stuff that had happened prior to, and her last marriage and all these other things. However, I'm responsible for her now. Your spouse, your relationship with your spouse, especially if you're a man, you're responsible for your spouse. You're responsible for their health. You're responsible for their mental health. You're everything in your house, you're responsible for. So it's a very traditional, old school thought process. But if you sit down and you actually look it through and you actually pay attention, dysfunction happens when men don't lead. And I don't mean just men, I mean real masculine men. And if you don't know what that is, the best picture of that is Jesus. And if you don't know what that is, 1 Corinthians 13, just look that up.
Yep.
That describes God and love. And so ultimately, the body flourishes when we are loved. And that means you have to love yourself. The people in your life have to love you. And you have to believe in a higher power that loves you. Without those three things, you will be dysfunctional.
Yep. Yeah. I'm trying to think of any ways. I mean, you've covered most of the ways I see it relationally. I think, I mean, I've had people where I'm like, hey, maybe this is not the right, not marriage. Maybe you need to go to couples.
Here's one.
Yeah.
Here's one. It's sorry to interrupt you. It's a sibling relationship.
Yeah.
So let's look at the sibling relationship where you have siblings. I have a sister.
Yeah.
I coach my sister. I love coaching my sister because she's killing it. But if my sister was not killing it and I was not coaching her, and she was in a valley of death, it's just complete destruction. And every time I talked to my sister, it was woe is me, and it was the worst thing, and all the things. What do we do as siblings if we love our siblings? We take on that weight and we carry it, and we're not supposed to carry that weight, but we were taught, well, that's your sister. You're supposed to help your sister. And you have to realize there's some autonomy once you get to a certain age and all this other stuff. But there's these relationships that are also the opposite way. So you have a sister or a brother and you have zero relationship with them. In the back of your mind, that's a stressor.
Yeah.
I don't care how you cut it because they're your blood.
Yeah.
Now, are they supposed to be in your life day in, day out like Val and Donna are?
Yeah.
No. But you want reconciliation.
For sure.
At least that's what we're called to.
Sure.
So I think that's the only one I can think of, unless you got another one.
The most common one I see, like as outside of like work, and like I've had clients where like their job is clearly why they're not making progress and why they have issues. And they leave the job and all of a sudden they drop 20 pounds. I'm like, what? Left my job, and then all of a sudden they get a
I've
new
had that
job.
happen several times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then they get a new job, and I start to see the same patterns. I'm like, hey, like we're seeing the same patterns here. You've got to figure this out. Clearly, you can't be unemployed, but you've got to figure that out. And I have others where it's like, listen, clearly there's a relation, a partner, marriage, whatever problem. You've really got to go to couples counseling. You really got to dig into this because that is impeding your results. I know you've seen that with your own clients. But I would say one that I see, it's more common than it should be, and it always frustrates me. It's the coaching relationship. And it's from the sense of a few different perspectives. First coaching relationship, it's like I'll use an example. We had the group mentorship yesterday with Austin, and someone had like a GI case or whatever, and I knew who had wrote the plan. Um, and I was like, let's see the plan. And it was kind of what I expected of that plan. And I went on about a 30-minute rant. Not rant, but it was a very, it like wasn't yelling or anything, but it was very like, you could tell there's passion behind it because it's like, this
Sure.
is not okay. It was a
Sure.
case where they give them all this random stuff and then they had to have every supplement from a specific company and with their specific discount code. And I can see by your name on the discount code to know you wrote the plan without seeing that you wrote the plan. Because I can tell
Hmm.
you this, I'm not building a plan using Dave's supplements and using Dave's code. I've got my own code. Like, why
Right.
do that?
Right.
Clearly, it doesn't work that way. And what I was talking about with the crew there is how frustrating it is that this happens too much in this industry where people are used and abused. They're not treated. And I told the coach that is now helping this client because they originally had gave it to specific people to help and then they took back over it. Um, Now he's in the crappy position to now tell the client, like, hey, like, sorry you've been doing this the last year. You haven't gotten better. Now he's got to do the mental gymnastics and build that rapport now to have a good relationship that in turn is broken because that coach recommended this area to go work with for the time being to fix the GI stuff. Now he's got to repair that relationship because that client is not going to, one, have trust in you or
Uh-huh.
the process. That person is still seeing XYZ issue, whether there's symptoms or not, it's showing this. And now it's up to him that he has to fix that. And this is what always frustrates me with this industry and why half the time I'm always 1 foot in, 1 foot out with how I do things. It's because us, me, you, Austin, people like us, we get these people that have been through stuff like this, and then they come to us, and
And
let's
we've got to
just say,
reverse engineer it.
yeah, and like that's what the protocol side, and let's say the basic side, and you've got the people, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, they did the basics, so they got to do this, and then now you're like, well, that is a step, but it didn't work. So now we've got to do this, and I've got to build that rapport and build the trust, which means I've got to put you on my back. I've got to help you because I've got to be the only person that can support you to build this relationship. Because if
Yeah.
you can't trust me and you can't trust the process, we don't get anywhere. And that's what always irks me. And I
And
see it way too much.
there's a risk of breaking your own boundaries because you have to repair the trust to a degree that requires more relational conversation or communication
Yeah.
than a person who would naturally trust you.
Correct.
And then that can become a problem in of itself where you have a codependent person
Yes.
on your roster, and you don't really want that. You want to be like, we all want to be a coach that you don't necessarily need us for the rest of your life.
Yes.
We want to be able to coach you and teach you into things until you learn what you need so that you can go and kind of manage things on your own. But if you have a situation where the person likes the accountability and they want to stay, that's fine. But if it's like, I can't live my life without Trey,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
problem.
So you have
So,
that scenario with that, or you have the
right.
scenario where, let's say they've done something super complex and they've done it the total opposite way that we would typically do it. Or like with me, I have tiers of the ways I do things. And I have to be like, listen, like we've got to pull back. We've got to work on the basics. And it might not be what we think. Like it might not be why. We might be like, hey, you actually do need the support, but they're going to have protocol burnout. They're going to have coaching burnout. We're already getting these people burnt out. We're already going to have to keep having the conversations. Hey, remember, like you ruminating on certain symptoms all the time it's really getting in the way here. Remember, like you might see X, Y, Z pop up. That is okay. It's like there's ebbs and flows, and we're going to have to work through that. That's stuff that we run into way more often than it's necessary because someone has given them this pipe dream of you do the basics, you're going to get better. Doesn't work. Or this side, okay, you need this intensive protocol, you need this, you need this supplement company and this discount code,
And it
then
didn't
to get
work.
better. And then you have to be like, if you go here, cool. We got to simplify it so you're not burnt out. And then you do it, they see a little improvement, but then they pull their lab work and it's still crap. And then they're like, what the heck? You told me I would get better with this. And it's like, well, no, like we're thinking long game here. Where you're coming from is a place that said 8 to 12 weeks, you will be better. You don't need this. This is going to be a long game because what I need is build these habits, give you a little bit of support, and you might need that support for 1 or 2, 3 or so, however many years. It's not a band-aid, but you might be one of those unlucky individuals that needs a little bit more support for a longer period of time to get where you want to be. And then
Yeah.
it's the same thing with the basics camp. And you're like, well, such and such said, oh, you don't need any testing. You don't need this and that. But now you're saying I need 10 supplements and I need this and that. How can I trust you when this person has all these results and doesn't need this? Or we probably see it. I see it with my clients where they see certain individuals. They're like, well, this coach said they only did the basics and their GI is better. So, like, why are
Where
you
there's
doing
no
this?
cardio in prep. And
Yeah,
it's like,
why are you not doing this? Like you just don't know what you're doing or this or that. This doesn't work. And it's like if you actually dug into what some of these individuals saying and saw some of their programming, they're giving you a fucking pipe dream and it's not actually how it is because we've seen some of those plans. And
mhm.
I would say if you're saying you don't do protocols or supplements, if I see 10 or 11 things in your thing, that is a protocol or a supplement. Like that.
Yeah,
So
for
that's
sure.
the most common thing from a coaching
It's so
standpoint.
to boil it down is like there's a trust. There's a trust that has to happen between the coach and the client, and
Yes.
depending on the previous experiences with other coaches, you may be able to have a better relationship or not a good
Yeah.
relationship with that
Or
client,
it could
and
be a
that it
relationship where y'all just butt heads all the time. And you just do not align as people. And that's why I always do the first call because if we do not align as individuals and we can't find anything to mesh
right.
with,
I don't
I
have
won't.
that. I don't. I mean, I might just be the most relatable person in the world.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But I've never really had a person that I just cannot get anything out of. I mean, maybe early on
Maybe
in my
relatability
career.
is different. Maybe like a difference in what their expectations are. Like I've had individuals that are like,
Yeah,
hey, I want to
yeah,
be able to
yeah.
talk to you 24/7 and you're my
Yeah,
only
I
thing
have.
in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah. So yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get that. But that's also just setting an expectation and managing to
From
that
the get-go.
expectation. But I would say, like, if you set that expectation and the person doesn't like it, that's just their preference.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately, if you set an expectation and they're willing to try it out, and you can build the trust, as long as you have trust, you have everything you need in the relationship to be able to
Yeah. 100%.
do what you need to do. And you know, coaching is a strange thing
Yes.
because so we're talking about secure relationships, even within your own marriage or your own partnership or whatever you've got. And like these people don't have secure relationships in their life, but all of a sudden we expect them to have a secure relationship with us.
Thus, right.
And they've known us for like 20 minutes on Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
I mean, a
think
lot of times mine are referrals though.
I've only had a handful of people over the years that we just did not align, like sending emails in like all caps, being very aggressive.
Oh,
You ask a question, they snap like, I am not doing that. Like I am like, no, I'm not doing anything like that at all. It's like, well, you're getting defensive for no reason. Or some that maybe it's like um dishonesty. I don't do well with
mm,
dishonesty.
I don't either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's something like where those are times where I've had to have this conversation with clients like, listen, like if you can't be honest with me about this, I
Usually they don't trust you.
yeah, I can't work with you and we're not going to align. Or it could be dishonesty of things that I don't need to know about you. Whether it's like you're cheating on your spouse or
Oh Lord.
stuff like that.
Oh Lord.
And I'm sure
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever
Yeah.
ran that. I've ran that with clients have said
Yeah.
that. Or I've
Hmm.
ran into it where I've had clients that are like voluntarily doing poor practices with PEDs or whatever. I'm like, listen, like I care about you. I want to help you. Like I do think we should do some good things, but based off of XYZ, like you either got to do this or you got to meet me halfway somewhere, or this will just never work. So I would say for me, that's the other relationship side that I see more often than not with clients. Um,
Yeah.
it could be for a variety of things.
I think too. I think that the real this is the correlation with all of that. You probably have more experiences like that because the level of dysfunction that you deal with your clients, right? So, like, if let's say Austin passes you off for people that are significant cases, well, then you're going to have significant issues within your own relationship because they don't know how to deal with anything they got going on anyway.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I can run across that sometimes, but the referral from Austin by nature, because of who he is in the industry, you're going to get the most messed up people
Yeah.
because they're like, hey, go to this guru who knows how to fix everything. And they're like, oh, and then Austin gets it and he reads the intake form or whatever. And he's like, and that's a Trey one. And then
Yeah.
you're like, oh man, I got the most
Yeah.
dysregulated people in the world.
Fortunately, but
So
unfortunately. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
sure. So it's a calling, it's a gift that you get
Yeah.
to hone in on, but it is also a challenging thing because at the base level, these people are dysregulated.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think this is a good one, man. I really think we covered a lot there. I don't know of anything that we've missed. Obviously, we didn't get into direct issues, but I think this is like a broad umbrella way of everybody to see like how each
Yeah.
categories can correlate. I don't want to say cause, but directly correlate and lead to possible things popping up. And that could be the roadblocks of why you're not getting better or getting where you want to be or the root,
Well, I think
whatever.
this part, at least for me, is like the most educational part
Yeah.
because if you don't have an understanding of this stuff, then you're not going to have an understanding when it comes to your constipation, or your diarrhea or whatever. Like, but if you have a self-awareness and all of a sudden you're like, you know what? Every time that I'm stressed, I poop
This
my
happens.
pants. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, now I get it. Now I'm going to
Yeah.
try to manage that a little bit
100%.
better.
100%. No, I
So,
think we covered a lot with it. I think it'll be a good one and I'll get it posted and everything. We'll get it posted Friday.
cool.
Sweet,
Sounds
man.
good.
Awesome,
All right,
guys.
brother.
Well, we'll get this posted. It'll be up Friday. We'll post a few clips on social media. And then if anyone has any topics or anything you want from us or want to reach out to either one of us for consults or clients, just reach out to us and then like, share, review it, leave us some 5 stars, and we'll go from there. So thanks, guys.
Awesome.
We'll talk to you next week.